Welcome, dear learners. I am Dr. Shaumili Mandal and I am back with Module 6, that is Week 6 of that name Rites and Rituals of my 12-week course Introducing Folk Literature of India. So, before I start this week's lectures, I'll give you a quick recap. In my Module 1, that is Introducing Folklore as a Discipline, Definitions and Key Concepts, I have discussed about the various definitions of folklore and glimpses of major concepts of folklore. In Module 2, that is Week 2, I have discussed about oral poetry traditions of India, specifying different regions and variety types, focusing on major themes and styles. In Module 3, that is Week 3, I have discussed the folk and its narrative genres, specifying folk tales of various regions of India and how they are connected by similar themes. In Module 4, that is Week 4, I have focused on folk music of India, also specifying the various themes and types of folk music. In my last module, that is Module 5, I have discussed about the different types of folk performances in the Indian context. And now, in this module, Rites and Rituals, I am going to focus on the numerous rites and rituals associated with the indigenous regions of India. Here, in my lecture 1, I'll be talking about Echoes of the Ecology. Lecture 2 will deal with rituals of East and Northeast India. Lecture 3 will deal with rituals of North India. Lecture 4 will deal with rituals of Central and West India. Lecture 5 will deal with rituals of South India. And now I'm going to start the first lecture, Echoes of the Ecology. In my first slide, you can see I have given a marriage ritual, a photo of the marriage ritual. And in this, I'll be discussing about the rites and rituals. Arnold van Gennep, in his The Rites of Passage, published in 1909, specifically focuses on the rituals as the means for changing and reconstituting groups in an orderly and sanctioned manner that maintains the integrity of the system. His analysis of the logic of ritual movements in space remains one of the most useful explanations of both the internal structure of rituals and the way they work as symbolic orchestrations of social changes. He gave us a three-stage pattern, and he demarcated the seasonal and calendrical passages, which established the pattern as a particularly effective formulation of a common structure underlying all or almost all rituals. Catherine Bell, in her groundbreaking book, Ritual Perspectives and Dimensions, in 1997, gave us six categories of ritual. They are rites of passage, which are the life cycle rites, calendrical and commemorative rites, rites of exchange and communion, rites of affliction, rites of feasting, fasting, and festivals, and lastly, political rituals. According to her, rites of passage are ceremonies that culturally mark a person's transition from one stage of social life to another. Calendrical rites occur periodically and predictably, accompanying and seasonal changes in light, weather, agriculture work, and other social activities. Some occasions are reckoned according to the lunisolar calendar, and therefore the dates vary each year. They can be roughly distinguished in terms of seasonal and commemorative celebrations. Seasonal celebrations are rooted in the activities of planting and harvesting for agriculturists or grazing and moving the herd for pastoralists. The second group of calendrical rites or the commemorative rites includes activities that explicitly recall historical events, whether the date is questionable. Vrats or vratas, the religious ritual followed by Hinduism fall in this category. The best known example of religious rituals are those in which people make offerings to a god with the expectation of receiving something in return. It helps articulate complex systems of relationships among human beings, gods, demons, ancestors, and animals. In rites of exchange and communion, direct offerings may be given in order to praise, please, and placate divine power in return for divine blessings for human well being. For instance, one places flowers or incense before the image of a Hindu god. So, what does it do? It invokes complex relations of mutual interdependence between the human and the divine. The Hindu devotional worship is a good example of a system of simple offerings that appears to have no purpose other than to please the deity. These offerings can range from the simple and private to the elaborate and public. Whether presented to the image of a deity in the home or at a temple or at a festival, the rituals evoke the ceremonies of hospitality traditionally shown to be honoring guests, particularly in ancient life. Indeed, it is fair to say that in the home or at a festival, such rites cast the deity as a lofty but temporary guest. Rites of affliction, which is invoked by Victor Turner, attempt to rectify a state of affairs that has been disturbed or disordered. They heal, exorcise, protect, and purify. Healing rituals are particularly in demand as they differ considerably from the modern scientific knowledge used in the 20th century. Purification is a major theme within rites of affliction, although it can be understood in a variety of ways. In feasting and fasting rites, there may be little overt testimony to the presence of deities, but a great deal of emphasis on the public display of religio cultural sentiments. They are extended rituals that can overlay the religio social value system with nuanced experiences of relative holism and hierarchy. Whether the social order is overturned and inverted or parodied in strict visual ranks, such symbolic embodiments of the community suggest its powerful ability to reshape itself. In most societies, rituals are multiple and have many messages and purposes which can modify or even contradict each other. Nonetheless, ritual practices seek to formulate a sense of the interrelated nature of things and to reinforce values that coherent and assume to do by their symbols, activities, organization, timing, and relationship to other activities. The spectrum of ritual and ritual like activities reveal basic ways in which people ritualize, that is, create, deploy, and reproduce rites. Despite the potential for great cultural variations, however, it is still possible to point to some strategic community and continuity that appear to underlie many ways of ritualizing. As with ritual action, people tend not to see how they construct tradition and meaning. In ritualization, people tend to see themselves as responding or transmitting, not creating. The ritual action is also dependent on the coherence and the degree. And the greater the number of ritual features are invoked, the more imposing, authoritative, and even traditional the event appears to be. The more spontaneity incorporated within the sequence and style of events, the more immediate, personal, and casual it seems. The degree to which activities are ritualized, for instance, how much commonality, how much appeal to deities and other family rites, how much formality or attention to rules, and how much emphasis on performance or appeal to traditional precedents. is the degree to which the participants suggest that the authoritative values and forces shaping the occasion lie beyond the immediate control or inventiveness of those involved. Also, a ritual never exists alone. It is usually one ceremony among many in the larger ritual life of a person or community. One gesture among a multitude of gestures, both sacred and profane. One embodiment among others of the tradition of behavior down from one generation to another. In the next slide, I'll be talking about the habits. Behaviors or practices that are consistently carried out within a certain group, civilization, or community can be referred to as habits in the context of culture. The beliefs, customs, and traditions of a society can be reflected in these customs, which are frequently passed down from one generation to the next. In culture, ritual habits are customs or rituals that are strongly ingrained in a community or group and have symbolic significance. These rituals have cultural, religious, or social importance and are frequently carried out repeatedly, usually at predetermined periods, that is, daily, seasonally, or annually. Rituals frequently express significant social, cultural, or spiritual meanings through symbolic meanings. For example, lighting candles as a sign of thanks for the abundance of nature during a religious event is also a habit. I have given here a photo of the worship of the tulsi plant, which is also a habit in Indian household, as we worship the tulsi plant every day. Rituals typically adhere to predetermined procedures and are highly structured. They are meticulously prepared and rehearsed and frequently follow the same order each time. Many rituals have religious or cultural connotations and might commemorate significant life events, life transitions, or seasonal shifts, such as coming of age ceremonies, weddings, funerals, or religious holidays. Next, I'm going to talk about the customs. Another central mark of distinction is that of cultural customs, religious beliefs, and relation to the environment. These include everything from marriage customs, music, calendrical festivals, religious ceremonies, and economic systems. The maintenance of rituals and customs often survive longer than other marks of distinction, such as language and dress and ornaments. These forms of rural expression are fundamental to the construction of unique folk identities. Shared cultural practices create a sense of solidarity among members of a particular tribe and often differentiate them from other tribes and members of the plains. Rituals and festivals are of central importance to any identity and even survive in a modified form after religious conversion and prolonged contact within the outside world. Connected with these customs are often unique myths of the origin of the people and their relation to environment. The environment, can also shape and dictate many of these customs and beliefs as well. Traditional behaviors, rituals, and cultural events that are handed down through the generations within a certain community or group are also known as folk customs. And they can differ significantly based on the area, the people's history, and their culture. In Latin America, I'll give you a worldwide example. We have Quinceanera, which is a celebration of a girl's 15th birthday and signifies her passage from girlhood to womanhood. It frequently involves a party, a religious ceremony, and dances like the vals. We also have the bar mitzvah, or the Jewish boys or girls who reach the age of religious maturity through this ritual, which is typically approximately for boys 13 and 12 for girls, the age actually. The hand fasting ceremony, which is a part of Celtic wedding traditions in Ireland, involves tying a couple's hands together with a ribbon or string to represent their togetherness. In between the oral literature and material culture, there lies areas of traditionally that we may call social folk customs. This is based on group interactions rather than individual skills and performances. Almost all societies periodically set aside some time for celebrations. These are common moments of special significance to the entire community. Also, they can be seasonal, they can be historical, they can be birth or death of a hero or god, or have some religious significance in it. There might be moments in which some living or dead person is honored with feasting and some performances. Games and recreations also are an expressive behavior and can be non productive in nature. It is separated from reality and the goals are built. Also, it has the idea of recreation and pleasure, and many folklorists have paid attention to traditional games and pastimes. Next, I'm going to talk about culture. Folk culture and also culture in general refers to the interconnected symbols, practices, and meanings in a society or a group of persons within a society. It comprises of learned habits, rituals, institutions, and expressions of the people. It consists of material culture as well as oral habits. The ambit of the cultural is a sense of the ontology of humankind as distinct from other natural kinds. Also, culture is a distinct category. The idea of the cultural is thus focused on the symbolic, ideal aspects of human society, which are constituted through and in language and linguistic medium and other forms of human interaction. Human beings, as they develop, became very different from the other creatures of the world in the sense that they were not governed by the forces of nature in a way that other creatures were. Rather, nature too was viewed through the symbolic mode of culture. The symbolic mode, as mentioned, primarily is linguistic, but with the passage of time included customs, rituals, and conventions also. In course of time, this conglomerate of symbols led to the formation of groups, various classifications and categorizations. Culture, considered in this way, means something determined by human beings themselves. You know, culture is the repository of human knowledge that is learned and built up over generations, transmitted through language. And this is how folk culture is transmitted. They are transmitted through generations. As soon as humans were able to pass on knowledge, orally or materially, they pass down culture. Thus, culture is the domain of the human, as different from that of creatures. This idea of culture, the word, foregrounds the idea of a unified human race, which actually makes humans different from other species. Folk culture, as I said, is transmitted from generation to generation through the oral tradition and is imbued with a strong feeling of community. This is the tradition and customs of a particular community or society that is reflected in the local's lifestyle. It also shows up the differences between what used to be done and the new ways of doing it. In earlier times, during the pre industrial eras, folk culture was equivalent to mass culture and hence could also be called the popular culture of that time. So, till now, I have discussed about the rites, the rituals, the customs, the habits, and culture. And remember, they are very important part of the folk area we have, of the folk area we are studying. Folk customs, folk rituals, folk rites, folk habits, everything are a part of the folk. Interestingly, whatever we practice every day, that is habit, whatever we rehearse every day, like I said, worshipping of the tulsi plant, everything of them, the habit becomes customs. And the habit with the rituals and rites, they become more a part of custom. And what custom becomes? The custom with all its components become a part of our culture. And this culture is something we carry forward. Also, in my coming lectures, we will see that how the folk culture and the classical culture has influenced each other. As I have said earlier, they are interdependent on each other. Folk culture has influenced classical culture and vice versa. So now, we have seen how we have evolvement of new customs, habits, rituals, and cultures as they are taking inspiration from each other. So, now I'll be talking about civilization. So, what is civilization? The term civilization is often used synonymously with the word culture. Often, culture or civilization is used to refer to complex agricultural urban modes of living, which are distinguished from other cultures in their organization and activity. Civilization or culture is also used in a normative sense to distinguish from vulgar, barbaric, savage, and inferior. In this sense, civilization signifies a state of belonging to a certain community. A static concept, the term culture is more dynamic, associated with the ideas of growth and development. Culture is a process that is vibrant and one which causes changes. It also sees the emergence of hierarchical notions such as elites and intelligentsia, unlike civilization. The synonymity of the two words, culture and civilization, are rooted in the historical and social realities of the world. We should look carefully into how the distinctions of culture or civilization are realized and see the functioning of binaries like nature or culture, identical or different, civilized or barbarian, and so on. In fact, these binaries sustain the logic of the civilizing missions of European societies and other societies as well, which were looked as cultivating processes, however different the realities might have been. So, I have attached a photo of the Great Bath of the Harappan civilization, as you can see, because a civilization is made of everything. Now, we come to the end of our lecture. And as I said, all these, whatever terms that I have expressed here, I have explained here, I've tried to explain here actually. That is, rites, rituals, customs, culture, civilization, habits, they all are interconnected with each other. Everything of them, the habit, the custom, the culture, everything makes a civilization. And in this civilization, the rites, the rituals also play an important part. As I've said, a few minutes ago, that the habits, everything, whatever we practice every day becomes a habit. And then it becomes a part of our custom. Then we have the rituals along with customs become a part of our culture. And the whole culture makes our civilization. So we are dependent on and influencing everything. Thank you and see you in the next lecture.